Good morning. How are you guys doing? Joining me. If you are new here, I am Carlene Cadet Francois. I am the CEO behind the Florida Assisted Living Consulting. Today on this masterclass, we're going to go over some mistakes that people make when starting their assisted living businesses. And at the end, we will have an opportunity for you guys to ask any questions that you may have. So I have a PowerPoint presentation. Where are we joining from?
Miami.
From Miami? Okay, nice. Welcome. Who else do we have here? Is everyone here from Florida?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that's great because the rules that we're going to follow today in the regulations are very specific to the state of Florida. Licensing is different from state to state. And so today, everything I am going to cover today will be something that will be useful directly to your ALF process for the state of Florida. So this presentation is going to cover a lot of the licensing rules. A lot of you here, has anyone here already have an established ALF? No? Everyone is at the very beginning where you're about to start your ALF and you're doing your research. Is that correct? Okay, so you're really going to love this because everything I'm going to cover today will be from the perspective of opening a new ALF. We have other trainings that are focused more on once you're open, what you need to do next. But this particular webinar is specifically for this opening your process. So I have a PowerPoint presentation here that I'm going to share. Can everyone see my screen? You can unmute
Yes.
yourself so you can speak. All right, everyone is seeing my screen? The way Google
Yes.
Meet is set up, it's hard for me to see. Okay, I think I introduced myself already. I am Carlene Cadet Francois. A little bit about my background. I am a mom. I'm an ex-BSO sergeant. So like you, professionals, people who know what you don't want at this phase in life, and you're looking for a way where you can do three things. You can get time flexibility, you can make more money, and you can leave something for the next generation. Or you can choose to travel, but nonetheless, you have enough options so that you can live your ideal life. So I fell into those categories. One of my biggest pain points was when I was leaving my children at home, whenever there was an emergency and I needed, I was a first responder. And while everybody was so nervous, I was packing up my suitcase leaving. So for me, it was more, it wasn't even time flexibility yet. It was, and it wasn't even money driven. It was like, I need to find something else that will allow me to be home with my children. I'm a mom of three. Mom is supposed to take care of the children, especially around the times when they're so nervous. There's a hurricane going on. And yet I'm leaving them with dad who, uh, like most of us, if you've ever had a spouse, usually the woman is the one who's usually doing better when it comes to nurturing the children and making sure they feel good. So that was my biggest pain point. Oftentimes, I will find myself crying all the way to where I'm going and then making sure that I look well put together before I enter before anybody sees me. So those are the pain that I carry. But once I got into the senior care industry, I did end up leaving my job, got into the senior care industry, opened my first assisted living business. I was able to make 6 figures that same year. So not to give you a too good to be true type of scenario, but I like to start with this is actually what is possible because I firsthand went through it, right? Can we relate to that? Can anybody relate to that?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, so here's what we're going to cover. We're going to cover Florida-specific rules and regulations. We're going to cover how I've been able to help my clients achieve their ALF license throughout the state of Florida. I have clients all over the state of Florida. And we're going to focus on purpose-driven, where we're caring for people. Of course, we're going to make money, but it is how you treat people that will allow you to sustain a really good business brand. So we're going to cover licensing steps, some mistakes to avoid, some real success stories. And I began the presentation with one of my own personal stories. And then we're going to go over the overview of what the process will end up being. As we know, the ALF industry is expected to be $140 billion industry by 2040. By 2030, in Florida happens to be the #1 state for senior care. Out of all of our states, all the baby boomers, they moved down to Florida. So the fact that we are already in Florida gives us a head start. If we can make the right choices, if we can take the proper steps from the very beginning. I find most people make the most crucial mistakes in the beginning because they don't know the right decisions to make. And so they find themselves in a mess that they have to fix. And so we serve seniors, people that is of age in assisted living setting, people that need help with activities of daily living. Also, they are not in your ALF because they need 24-hour skilled nursing or medical care. They're at your ALF because they need help with eating, with bathing, nothing medically necessary. Okay. And those are the people that you'll end up serving. So if you want to open an ALF in Florida, some of the AHCA specific rules can be very overwhelming. Sometimes you have, for example, when you deal with the zoning department, you have different words that they use: residential community homes versus community residential homes versus zoning for the home of the age. They all mean the same thing. But when you are speaking to someone from the zoning department and you're not sure what those rules or what those keywords means, you may struggle when it comes to getting the right language so you can get the right zoning application, for example, to be able to move your process forward. So it's useful that you have proper guidance and you at least know a little bit about what those keywords or key terms means so that you can get the right applications that you need. For example, we have, when you first find a building, so as you know, you need a building to start the ALF process. So once you find a building, whether you rent the building or you purchase the building, it needs to be zoned. And one of the ways that people make a lot of mistakes is they reach out to the zoning department, but they're not sure what to say. Oftentimes people call this business group homes, but there are different types of group homes. And so if you don't know what is an assisted living or a residential community home versus a group home that is driven by the APD, whereas the ALF assisted living, people call it group homes, but really it's not a group home, it's an assisted living, is driven by the rules of the Agency for Healthcare Administrations. And all of these things make a difference when you just need that application to say, let me apply for the zoning application. Let me make sure this building is zoned before I pay this landlord this money, or before I go ahead and do this closing. But if you don't know the difference between those two things, the zoning department can't help you. You can't help yourself. And it takes time to figure all of these things out. And so one of the ways that we make sure people know this is that we follow the exact steps. And those are the steps. When you get to the phase where you found a building, you want to make sure that the building is zoned. You want to make sure that you know which type of structure you're creating, which is, today we're focusing on the assisted living. That is, you're bringing seniors to your business and you get the license through the Agency of Healthcare Administrations. And so I mentioned some of the mistakes earlier. One of the best ways to secure your zoning is not only to call and find out whether you are zoned or not, is to make sure that you actually complete the actual application. Once you complete the application, that's when you know that your zoning is secured. Some agencies will give you up to 6 months. Others will say it's a first come, first serve. Whoever get their license first is who's going to be able to sustain that location. But you don't have a choice if you don't even submit the zoning application. So typically the zoning application involved making sure that you pay the fee. There's usually a zoning research for that. And then once you do all of those things, some areas require that you submit floor plans. Once you do all of those things, then you can, what is called, secure your zoning. We do have people that have issues. One of the biggest pain points and mistakes people make is they don't know how much money that they need to start the process. And oftentimes the difference varies on how much money you need. For example, if you don't have a building yet, you're going to purchase a building, that number is different from someone who already have a building and they need money to say, for example, install the fire alarm, the sprinkler generator, and the reserve gas. Those are the major expenses that, regardless whether you have a building, whether you're going to buy a building, you have one established, those things have to be accounted for. And the fees varies based on how much your square footage is. But typically I've seen, if you already have a home, I've seen people need it anywhere from $50,000 and up, depending on if they need to do renovations. There are some ADA compliances with the door frames, the doorways, and all of these things. And people usually partner up because that could be quite a lot. So what, for example, I have in my Thriving Circle community where I meet with my audience once per month, I have two people that decided that they were going to partner up. One who is a nurse, but is on a travel assignment, and another nurse who lives down here in Florida and has already passed her administrative state exam. And they decided to partner up because the nurse that have the building right here in Florida is in another state, and they're in a travel assignment. And the nurse who lives down here, she wants to start her ALF, and she's ready. She's already passed her state exam, which is another one, the requirements that you need to do for the administrators. And they partner up because funding was an issue. And as you know, at the ALF conference, we have several speakers and panels that will cover different funding options, creative options on how you can find money to start your ALF. But those two people from my community decided that they were going to partner up. And now they're in the phase of opening their ALF. We've already started their process. With all of that said, do we have any questions on those so far? Is that resonating to anyone?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
What if you can't secure the zoning? I mean, is there a possibility that just based on where you are that you wouldn't be zoned for the facility?
Yeah, so the zoning requirements here in Florida, they go by they go by distance requirements. They go by how far are you from another distance. So some places have it to where it's 50, to where it's 150 feet from another ALF you can't have. Other ones is 1,500 feet. So when you reach out to your zoning department, you're going to say align something like this. I have this building. This is the address. I'm trying to find out if it's zoned for ALF. So initially, they're going to look at the distance requirements from an ALF or group home that is already established versus you who is the new building that's coming abroad. So they're going to take the measurements from the ALF that is already there, and then they'll tell you based on how far you are from that particular location or these particular locations, you can have it there or you cannot have it there. Now, if they tell you that you can have it there, you want to make sure that you complete the application, because until you complete the zoning application, that phone call and that the fact that they told you that you can have it there really means nothing, because they don't know whether or not you're actually going to do so. And then they don't have anything in their system to show when the next person reach out and they meet the distance requirement from your home. They don't have information to say you cannot have this because we have someone else who is already in a process for this. Does that make sense?
Yes. Does it matter if it's like a veteran facility versus a civilian facility?
Yes, it does matter. So the zoning ordinances have a specific type of community residences that they fit under the umbrella of community residential homes. So when you reach out to them, they will check all of those homes or settings. Sometimes even if you have a school nearby, if you have hospitals nearby, rehab centers. So it's not just It's not just the assisted living or group homes. It's also different types of settings that um, only they would know about. And I've seen people go on Google, for example, and they try to do the zoning process because they don't want to pay that application fee, and they end up wasting a whole bunch of time spending. Somebody even bought a house that they thought was zoned, but they and their realtor thought that they needed to go online and check. And of course, not everything is online. But until you make that phone call and you submit the application to the zoning department, you don't know you don't know if you can actually have the ALF there. And you can see how it can be so expensive to, one, buy a house, and two, make all the installations. In that case, this person didn't do the installations yet. Thank God. By the time they reached out to me and I submitted the zoning packet for them, only to find out that the house they bought, because they thought it was zoned, because they did their own research from online information, was actually not zoned. So there are different types of settings in Florida that falls under the residential community home. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
And
So,
who do we contact in Tallahassee to find out about zoning?
so you don't contact anyone in Tallahassee. You would contact, let's say if you live in, like I live in the city of Sunrise, I would Google, my building is in the city of Sunrise. So I would Google City of Sunrise Planning and Zoning Department. Then when that number comes up, then you would call that number and you would say you're trying to open an assisted living licensed by AHCA. And they would say, what's the address? You tell them the address. And then they will say, oh, you're likely to be zoned. I don't see anyone within that distance requirements yet. Then that's when they would do the rest of that's when you would do the rest of the process. But the zoning, your local zoning requirements supersedes the rules of the Agency for Healthcare Administration. And I'll explain it. Because the Agency of Healthcare Administration, AHCA, they want to make sure that you are obeying the rules of your local counties. And although they put together a minimum requirements, like if you look at the general rules for having an assisted living, any residential home can be approved for having an assisted living. But your local zoning department, their ordinances have a distance requirements from one home to another. And that's what either approves a new home or denies a new home. Does that make sense? Because AHCA, when we submit the AHCA packet, AHCA is going to ask for a zoning approval letter. But we have to work with the zoning department in order to be able to even have that zoning approval letter. Does that make sense? So AHCA is working hand in hand with the zoning department. But if zoning says you cannot have an ALF there, AHCA will not, there's nothing AHCA can do that will okay you to have the ALF, and AHCA would not give you the license. They'll be at the conference, by the way. One of our speakers is a representative from AHCA. So even though AHCA issues the license, they have the power to issue the license. AHCA requires that you work with everybody else. Your first steps, the zoning department, the emergency management department, the health department, all of those things. And AHCA is only going to have those letters from those departments that you followed their regulations, and now you did what needed to be done, and now you're able to get your AHCA license. Of course, there's a lot more that goes into it. There's paperwork. The house have to be structured a certain way, and we go over all of that with our clients. But you can't skip any of those steps. Let's say I've had people that come to me and they manage to get themselves like help themselves do a lot of the process, but they may have skipped, let's say, for example, the health department, where they have to come out, do an inspection to say, yes, this home is structured soundly enough to have an ALF there. AHCA would not give you the license. AHCA would say, no, you need to go back and work things out with the health department before we issues you the license, right? So it's a lot that goes into it, and it gets confusing because every state is different. And if you're not getting Florida-specific information, it can confuse you, because even with your own state of Florida, you have your own specific sets of rules that you have to follow. And when you get that confused with other things that have to be, that may delay you, it can get pretty messy. And that's one of the reasons why everyone that will be at this conference we have coming up, I assume you guys know about the conference, but we have a conference coming up January 23 and 24. And we have a few tickets left, but everyone that will be at the conference are people you will end up using because they're professionals that provide services in Florida. And so if you can focus on providing a good service, you can have the right partnerships, you can have the right people to give you the right steps and come out and do some of the things that by licensing you will not be able to do. It really does make a huge difference. I talked about my journey earlier, but I came from the sheriff's office. I opened my own assisted living. That's how I was able to learn so much. A lot of the things that I teach is because I've been there, done that. I've been through it. Talking about this beautiful ALF we opened and these wonderful people that we served. One day I walked in and my staff was cleaning a wall because one of our residents that have dementia took poop and smeared it all over the walls, And so I don't know if she thought she was painting, but could you imagine walking into something like this? And of course, I put my gloves on and we all started cleaning and making sure that she was good. And the whole time she was giving us love, even though her hands were full of poop. She wanted to touch us. She wanted to give us love. And there is nothing more than finding a way to love someone who serve our community, who don't even realize what they're doing and they need the grace. One day we will all be there. And that's how I was introduced into the business. Came from the sheriff's office, opened my own ALF. And that first year we made 6 figures. So of course, I didn't know a lot about, some of the things that were going on in the industry, but I did experience that people didn't share information when I was in the process of opening. But the fact that I came from a policy, procedure, lots of paperwork, do your job, make your actions according to those policies, do not violate, be ethical. I didn't realize how much that actually helped me and how important that was. But it helps me tremendously. And it was while I was running my ALF that I actually learned that a lot of the things that were happening in the industry, nurses, doctors, people that were coming into the ALF would tell me what was going on. They would ask me, how did you start? And I would tell them how I start. Can I see your paperwork? I would show them my paperwork. And together they helped me to build this consultation business that we carry today, which is another six-figure business. But they told me, can you write a book about this? I want to learn more, but I don't have time. So I wrote a book. If you put my name on Amazon, it's still doing great with over four stars on Amazon. And they told me people don't share information. I could believe that because it happened to me. So I started hosting meetups. And they told me, can you do a course? So I did a course. And one of the plans that I have to share with you today is the conference. And also, if you want to enroll into the course, you'll have access to it, plus a discount code. But it was while I was running my own ALF, because I thought I needed something else to do to give me time, flexibility, to give me a new expert knowledge that I can teach. That at the time I was 36 when I left the sheriff's office. Clearly, I needed something else to do to generate income. And I thought to myself, there's no losing here because it's my own building, it's my own money, there's no pressure. My husband, it was actually my husband's idea, and he says, I think you'll do well in senior care. He's always watching me helping seniors. And that, of course, you don't watch yourself, so you don't know. And my grandmother raised me. I've always had a soft spot for the little children and the elderly. And I thought maybe I can do well. But if I failed, it's okay because there's no losing here, because at least I learned and I tried it. But I did it and I succeeded, and I actually enjoyed it so much. And over time, while people were asking me for different products, different things, I put them together. And we've been able to open several ALFs throughout the state of Florida. We've been able to transition from meetups to conferences. The last conference we had, 250 people we started. We sold out at 280. So if you can serve people and if you can empathize with them, you can see yourself in their shoes, and you can serve coming from a good place and not try to squeeze every penny out of someone just to give basic information. If you can go deeper than most, and if you can help, you'll succeed in caregiving. And a lot of us that get into this type of business is because we actually want to help people. We actually want to make a difference. I think we covered this slide already. Florida's #1 out of all our states. And let me move this a bit. I talked about how tight-lipped this industry was. And I actually went door knocking. My first ALF sisters, because everything in life you need to have a community. When I was at the sheriff's office, I had deputy sisters. When I got promoted, I became a sergeant. I had sergeant sisters. And so I needed that. I didn't know much about the industry when I started, and I learned that it was very tight-lipped, but I wanted to have other people, even if it's just to bounce ideas. So I went door knocking, and my first 3 sisters from the ALF industry was because I actually went out there door knocking, and some were very rude, but not all were rude, because I was able to build my own little community to help me. And so part of my promise to myself was, if I succeed at this, if it has the ability to make money, and of course you're making a huge difference, I am going to educate. And if most of you probably know about the education that I put out on YouTube, we have a podcast. I mean, even my downloadable free download workbook. I share with my paid client. That's the same workbook that I use for them. So when I put out information, I don't put out watered down type of information. I put out information because you're spending time learning, and you may not have paid money up front, but you are paying because you're paying with your time. And so that's why we educate, we bring you resources. And Florida Assisted Living Consulting, we help people open businesses throughout the state. We have the ALF courses. We have the Thriving Circle community. We go on there once per month. We educate our audience. And then, of course, the conference. January 23 and 24 is the next conference, 2 days conference. And we have all of the speakers that we have was speakers that the last conference asked for. So this conference coming up in January will build the next year's conference. So what we did was we gave out flashcards, and people were able to tell us exactly what they wanted. It wasn't my idea, the 2 days conference. It was a request, and they wanted funding up, more people talking about funding options. They wanted AHCA to be there. They wanted administrators, people who actually manage those buildings. They wanted a panel of administrators. So we have all of that coming up in January, and we're super excited. And of course, we have the one-on-one licensing roadmap that, not to brag, but it's true, but all of our clients are able to get their ALF license on first inspection. So it's a huge success when you can help others gain success, because they will share you with their friends, with their families. People have met with me, and someone share them with me, and they're like, one of the craziest one, they called me, we had a meeting, and then I told them what the one-on-one consultation fee was. And then they said, okay, I'm sending my uncle to bring you the money. So we go to meet to get the money, and they just dropped $5,000 in cash. They don't want any receipt. They don't want anything. I'm like, wait, that's a lot of money. I expected a check or the. And then they're like, I know you're going to help us. And I think reputation goes beyond anything that we could put out, because your reputation will go before you. And when that happened, it was like a nugget. Encourage, Carlene, you're doing the right thing. And of course, I would never let that person down, but it's more so, you know, are you comfortable doing this? You should not be doing this. So your licensing roadmap, if you're planning on getting into this business, you want to check. AHCA is going to be the entity that will issue your ALF license. But AHCA will not accept your licensing packet until towards the end, the very end of your process. So your first steps will be finding a building, whether that building is a building you're renting. And if you are renting, it needs to be a long-term lease, 5 years or more, ideal 10 years. If you are buying, you want to make sure, whether you're renting or buying, that the building is zoned. And there's a lot of inspections that will go in between. There is the change of use, which is right after you do your zoning, you're going to deal with change of use, certificate of occupancy. That's another one that have multiple different types of names, but you're changing the building from a residential structure to a commercial structure where you have to deal with ADA compliancy. You have to make sure certain things are set up in the house, sprinklers, generators, all of these things. And then after you pass all of these things, then AHCA issues your license. There is Policies you have to have in place. There are files and forms. There are, for example, the health department, besides the ADA compliancy, there are certain types of compliance with your kitchen setup. For example, you have to have 2 sinks and a dishwasher, all of these type of things. And what we do is we have a roadmap where we have step-by-steps where your first steps will be finding a building, making sure it's on. Your next step will be the change of use, certificate of occupancy. Different cities and counties call it differently. And then you have to deal with the inspections. And then towards the end, we put your licensing packet together. We mail it to AHCA. Then AHCA comes out and do a physical inspection. I'm super excited. Kimberly from AHCA will be at the conference, and I want you guys to see what I see when I deal with those professionals from AHCA. And of course, like everything in life, you will find some people will misuse their position, but I will tell you, those people at AHCA, they value and honor their positions just as much as we do. It's just, we are both serving in different side of the aisle. And so you will see for yourself that they actually care for what they do. They want to make a difference. They want to make sure that they are taking care of their seniors with the licensing portion. And just like you're going to physically care for the seniors, AHCA care for the seniors with the paperwork aspects of things, making sure you have the right policies, making sure you are letting the residents know about their rights, making sure you have the right checklist, that the building is running accordingly. That's how they are able to serve their seniors. So we're all serving all in all. Any questions so far? Is what I'm saying resonating?
Yes.
Okay.
Why do you have to have 2 sinks?
2 sinks, because you need a hand washing sink. You need a sink to be able to prep food, and you need a sink to make sure that you have an area to wash hands, because you don't want to contaminate the food. So they're very picky as to why you need to have 2 sinks. Those are the reasons. You need one to prep food, and you need another one to be able to take care of hand washing and things like that. So we talked about zoning, application fees. There's a lot of application fees involved in this. Policies, procedures, someone like me will do those for you. CEMP, ECP, those are generator plans, emergency management plans, generator plans. You have to have all these things. So we'll be dealing with the planning and zoning department, so that along with the emergency management division, to make sure that you have all your paperwork ready and together, and then they'll do their inspections. We talked about the administrator core training. So if you yourself is going to be the administrator, you need to be able to take a state training test. And we have, okay, I see you, Eric. Give me a minute, please. We have, for example, a study group that have the minimum requirements that you need to know to pass the test without going crazy, because the core training is going to teach you a lot. But those things coming from managing and coming from running the day-to-day, those things usually show up on those exams. And I'm an administrator myself. Not to say they guaranteed will show up, because I don't know what's going to show up. But if you focus on those areas and Judging from my people that we prep that went to go take the exam, they've been able to pass. Eric, go ahead, please. Eric, can you please unmute yourself? Okay, so we'll go over partnerships. So earlier we talked about a type of partnership that happened within my ALF. And some people have asked me about whether if, say, for example, AHCA give issues if you partner up. AHCA does not give issues if you partner up. One of the issues that do come up is if you partner up with someone that have questionable background, know that if your partner owns 5% of more of the business, they'll have to go through a level 2 background check. So think about those things, okay? Because you have to pass the level 2 background check, and then whoever is on ownership of the business, whoever is a safety liaison, financial officer, whoever is involved in the business, have to go through a level 2 background check. Go ahead, Eric. I think it's Eric. You can unmute yourself and ask. It's hard for me to keep up with the questions that come through.
Sure.
So you can just speak.
Okay, thank you. And just a quick question before we get too far further. Does AHCA have its own distance requirement from another ALF, or do they just go by whatever the city says?
They go by whatever the city says.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Great question. Danielle, can you add the links? So I understand some people may not be able to be here for so long. The links to the conference with a discount code that is specifically for my people in here today. You'll be able to get the conference, I think, for $460 instead of the $550. That is a discount that is not available to the public right now. So you'll be able to get that. And then if you choose to get the ALF course, you will basically end up getting whatever you paid for the conference is being subtracted from the ALF course. So you end up getting the conference for free. And it has all of my education. It's a bundle on there, including the live meetings with me monthly. Yeah, that was a great question. You can drop that link as well for me, Danielle. But any
I'm
other
sorry,
questions?
I am unfamiliar with this Meet, Google Meet. Where is the chat? How do I get the link?
Where is the chat? That's a great question. If the chat is usually on the side or on the bottom.
There's additional text on our screens for some reason. Look to the right and you'll see a number 30. It's just hover to the right of that, and it says chat with everyone. But for some reason, the bottom menu, which is normally clear, is not very super clear right now.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for explaining that. Did that help?
No, I have a thing that is it possible for you to just text it to me? I just want to make sure I can register.
Yes. Well, I think we can also email it over.
Thank you.
I have a team member here. Danielle, can you make sure that you email both links so that they can get to register? Because those discount codes are not out to the public.
Yes, I'll do that.
Okay. Thank you.
And please try to register within like 24 hours because the discount is going to expire around that time. Danielle, you saw that? Someone just put their emails on here.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll continue. So if you can partner up, and we are going to have different panels that will cover different people, several different people that will cover several different funding options, creative options. But if you have someone that have questionable background, think about those things. So they are going to have to, as long as you put their name on that application, they are going to have to go through that level 2 background check. And it's not because AHCA don't want you to partner up. It's because AHCA want to make sure that everyone who is part of the business clears the background check. So that's where most people have issues with AHCA. It is not how you partner up. It is the clearance behind the partnership, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? So we talked about the 26-hour core training. Typically that structure is online. So the core training is usually around the same type of information. So they go over a whole bunch of rules. I took it, the core training, when I got into the business. So it's a lot of information that they cover. Focus on getting through the information and making sure that your internet connection works well, because it is being timed. And if they don't have at least 26 hours, you won't be able to get your certificate, and it can get pretty frustrating. But we do have the study group review that is with your ALF course bundle today. And so get through the core training, do the study group, you'll be just fine to pass your state exam. Where do you take your state exam? You take it through the McDonald's Institute. So what you can do right now is you can Google McDonald's Institute for Florida Administrator state exam, pick the date that you want to pick. You will also have access to the core training with this bundle as well. So you'll have the core training, you'll have the study group. We will help you register for the state exam. The McDonald's Institute, you will need the certificate from the core training to do that. If you have any issues, we can help you register. Then you take the core training, you pass the test, and then you become an administrator. You just have to make sure after 2 years, you do your continued education, okay? And if you're not gonna be the administrator, whomever you're going to hire will have to take those steps. So we cover some processes and mistakes. We understand Florida rules are different from all the other states. And today we covered pretty much specifically the licensing steps for Florida. And I'll have other trainings that will cover, for example, once you're licensed, then what? And then how to find residents, marketing, all of those trainings are coming up. But find a building, make sure that is zoned, go through the application process, your zoning, the inspections, and then ultimately we get the license. A lot happens in between these steps, but typically those are the bread and butter of what this industry is. EECP, that's your generator plan. You are required to have a generator, a sprinkler system, alarm system, and then you have to have reserve gas for at least 96 hours at a time, okay? All of those things are things that we cover inside of the ALF course. Also, health and fire safety codes, all of these things, fire safety plan, evacuation plan, we cover all of those. And we find that a lot of the older facilities have come to us. One of them came to us. She had 26 pages of deficiencies when she reached out to me because she was using a lot of outdated AHCA forms. And AHCA have changed a lot of rules over the AHCA have changed a lot of rules over the years, and so I was able to help her cure those deficiencies. But if you know someone who already have an ALF and they are helpful, be thankful they are helpful. But keep in mind some of the processes they have in place may be outdated. So take the information that they're sharing with you, if it's not an up-to-date ALF, with a grain of salt is what I'm saying. But do appreciate them for sharing, because people don't always share. But there are ways that you can achieve success in this industry if you can treat people right, you can do the right things, you can start with the right mentorship from the very beginning, because it's easier to fix things or to follow the right roadmap than to undo the things that were done incorrectly, and to fix them. It ended up taking too long. Do I have any other questions? You can unmute yourself and please ask your questions.
This is Eric.
Hi,
And without
Eric.
going into tons of detail, I understand getting through the process is one thing, and oftentimes people can get through the process, but then getting clients is a different story altogether. And sometimes people, they can't do that second part. They can't get clients because they're not good marketers or good salespeople, or I don't know. So can you talk a little about what kind of skills we need to get clients, and how we get clients and where we get clients and things like that? Just I don't expect you to go into tons of detail, but if you could give us an idea, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a valid question. Yeah, definitely. So to get clients, here are a few things that you have to do. Even in the beginning of all of this that we're talking about, there are marketing strategies that you can implement. For example, you cannot have a website. If you do, all you can put on there is ALF coming soon. But you can start networking with industry professionals. The conference is one of them. FALA is another one. BCOA is another one. You go out and you start networking with the people that have groups of people who serve senior care, and they are looking to do business with other people, other professionals who serve in senior care. Placement agents, you want to have relationships with, besides those group settings, you want to have relationships with rehab centers, with hospitals. You want to make sure that you, at least around the holiday times, you can go out, you bring a little goodie bag, you introduce yourself, you let them know that you're planning to open an ALF. You take a business card, always take a business card, follow up. So by the time when you're actually open, you already have a relationship with this person. They know your name. They may not know the name of your ALF, but they know your name. And then another thing you can do is you can also make sure that you are following up. You are opening your home up. For example, a lot of people are curious because they see this home, they see people coming in and out doing work in it, but they don't know what it's going to be. So you can open up your home and tell the neighbors that you're opening an ALF right next door. And if they want to come see what the process is, open up your doors, let them come and see it. Churches in your area, you can let the church know that you're opening an ALF right down the street, for example, that you're okay with them coming to see. What happens is, as people are within the community, they hear that there's an ALF right next door, and then they hear things happen to other friends or family members. For example, one big one, unfortunately, mom fell, and now you as the caregiver don't know what to do. And someone from the church says, oh, I visited a building that was opening an ALF. Perhaps you can reach out to those people. They're likely to reach out to you or have the person reach out to you. And that's a lead you can get right there when you're licensed. So it's a lot to be done. But a lot of people make those mistakes because they wait until they get their ALF license to actually start networking, to start networking and talking about their business. Even online presence, you can have online presence. You just have to be careful that you don't put yourself as an ALF. You can put ALF coming soon, and you start sharing your process. You start sharing where you are in the process, what you're doing, what your struggles, what are you winning at this phase, and people are following you, and now you're growing your pages even before you're open. So all of these things, I mean, I can go into a lot, but did that help? Eric, did that help?
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? So this one is an ALF that we recently opened. Oops, what did I do here? ALF that we recently opened. Did something here. Okay, I can still share. This one is in Port St. Lucie. This one is all the way in, where is that one? Gainesville. So just a couple of examples of, let me see. I did something here. Okay, perfect. Just a couple of examples. If you are going to open an ALF, make sure that it's nice. You know, people care to see what they're bringing, what the location feels and be like. Of course, people, they're looking for good people that have good businesses, and good businesses are because of good people. But there's a way that you structure an ALF where the ALF is just so nice and you have good people. There's no way they're going to walk out without bringing mom to you. And you have to make sure those things are in place. So inside of your ALF course, you'll have zoning templates, some checklists for AHCA, some samples of your emergency management plans. We do offer mock surveys for people who are already established. And then, of course, we have the Thriving Circle community, and you'll have access. You'll have access to that as well. And we talked about some mistakes to avoid. If you miss any of those steps in between, we use the example of if you miss the health department inspection when you submit your AHCA process, they're going to kick back your application asking you to do the health department process. And AHCA only gives 21 days when you submit the initial licensing packet. They come back with an admission letter, and then they give you 21 days to cure anything that they ask you to cure. And the health department usually takes a while. So you want to make sure to avoid delays, that you are following a roadmap, and we cover all of that inside of the course. In the wrong order, we'll just mess things up. I won't spend too much time on that one, but just be mindful about the order of things and about what type of information you take from people, and make sure that information is actually valid and it actually up to date with what is going on. A lot of the reasons why people fail is because they don't have proper information. They don't have the proper plans. They don't have the right focus. People come to me, they're like, what's my socials? If you type my name, Danielle, can you put my social links on here? People come to me and they're so focused about a business plan. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I can do a business plan for you, but a business plan without following the proper steps is going to get you all confused. Let's make sure you have the proper steps in order first. And I find that they'll go elsewhere and get a business plan, and then they'll come and present me that business plan, and that business plan is not what it should be. So try to focus on the actual steps and the things that needs to be done, because that's really what's going to bring you success here. Yeah, so the ALF course bundle, we mentioned that. The AHCA, they're all AHCA compliant. Everything we talk about here, everybody you will meet at my ALF conferences, do potential ALFs look for houses to rent? The question went away. Are you asking if there are ALFs that are already set up that is looking for an operator to rent it to?
No,
Yourself.
I asked the question. I just wanted to know, do potential ALF owner or licensees, are they looking for homes to rent?
If licensees are looking for homes to rent,
When they're setting up like residential ALFs, do they need real estate? Do they need houses to rent? Or is this typically something that they buy? Because
oh yeah, they can rent as well. Typically it's a long-term rental, like 10 years plus.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
I was thinking about getting into the ALF world because I'm in real estate, but then I thought about just marketing my homes to potential people that would like to do ALFs because they're set up for that.
Yes, that would be a good market for them as well.
So that was why I was interested in the conference, to come and potentially market my homes for long-term rentals to a possible ALFs that would like to set that up.
Yes, that is absolutely something you can do, as there are people who want to start the business and they have enough to do installations, but they don't have enough to buy a home. So that's definitely a strategy that you can use as an investor.
Okay,
and as a real estate professional as well.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Great question. Anybody else?
I'm sorry, Kim. I have a question for Kim Maniac. Is it possible for me to have your contact information?
Absolutely. 786-368-7697.
786-368-7696.
7697.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
See, this is what I love, for people to actually get in the right like-minded environment and be able to help each other out. Any other questions or comments or concerns?
For the conference, do we need to have like financing and things like that in place, or will there be people there that we can speak with as well?
No, you don't. There will be people there that you can talk to that will help you come up with different strategies as to how you can find those financing. We do realize that the finance aspect, because you need quite a bit of initial investment, even for people that already have a home or that will rent a home, you still need to have money to do those installations. And so we will have, I think, 3 or 4 different finance professionals that will give you different financing strategies to help you come up with funding to be able to get your process going. That's a great question. Did that answer your question?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm also wondering, the homes that you showed are new, and the house that I was looking to use is like was built in like 1950.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if that's going to be a major problem, especially if you're saying that sprinklers need to be put in place and all of these different things, ADA compliance, because I know, you know, we couldn't get we couldn't even get some of the furniture in because the doors weren't wide enough when we first bought the house. So is that something that I should just completely not even think about and just look at a different property?
Well, I will say two things. Remember I said I converted my own building into an ALF? The home that I converted was made in the 1950s. It was an older home because remember, this was something that I was testing out. But we had to do a lot of renovations in that house, and it costed a lot of money. But of course, I didn't know what I was doing. And I just wanted to come up with a new career. So my husband was on board, thank God for that. And he was supported enough, and we spent a lot of money. But I would say two things from what you're saying. You have to look at, because you're going to spend the money to get the house from 1950 up to code to open an ALF in today's age. It will be quite a bit of money depending on what the structure of the house is. The doorways, if they're not wide enough, that will be a problem because you have to have ADA compliancy. But if the house is in good condition and you have space within the walls to open the doorways, that's not going to be a huge problem. What I will do is I can, where is the house located? What area?
It's in Tallahassee, close to Florida A&M University.
Okay. So if the house is in good condition and all you need to do is open up for ADA compliance, you may still be able to use it. But if it's not in good condition, you may want to look for something newer. And I would look for a contractor in your area to come out and say, could you open up those doorways? Because sometimes people are not able to open those doorways because of how the walls are structured. So if they say they can open up the doorways and make, because it's not just the entrance door, it's also the bathrooms, the showers. It's also wherever a resident will be able to go through the house have to be ADA compliant. So if they are able to open up those doorways, you may still be able to use that house if it's in still good condition. But if they cannot open, because if the walls, the way that is structured, they cannot open it up, then you need to look for another location.
And
I don't
2
wanna do
stories
this.
aren't ADA compliant, right?
Yeah, 2 stories are a nightmare. Please don't do 2 stories. There are different issues that will come up with that. For example, I've had people that they say, oh, I can put people on the bottom, but it's not enough rooms to fit everybody. 2 stories play a role in 2 factors. Your evacuation procedures, you have to be able to evacuate people within 3 minutes, at least by 3 minutes, right? And 2 stories have nightmares because it's hard to get people to come down because there are already people that are on wheelchairs, unless you have an elevator or you're able to to make it ADA compliant, it's hard to make stairways ADA compliant. So AHCA in the city will not tell you you cannot have an ALF in a 2-story building. But here's where they're going to get you. When it's time for you to pass those fire safety inspections, because you have to do fire drills, that's when they're going to close you down. First, they're going to have you add more staff. And of course, the more staff you add, the more it eats up your profits. So you don't want that either. But then after they have you add more staff, they're going to, if you still can't meet those timeframes, they're just not going to pass your fire inspection. And if you can't pass your fire inspection, you can't renew your license. So they are technically shutting you down, because AHCA will not renew your license until you have those fire inspection reports. So that's where it is tricky. Avoid 2 stories. They are not ideal for ALF. It is a complete nightmare. In fact, I don't like 2 stories so bad that I have not opened any 2-story ALFs. I just don't accept those clients, because I can see that you're not going to do well. Why am I taking your money in saying that I'm going to help you when I know you're not going to do well with 2 stories?
Of course, my property is 2 stories.
At least. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said, of course, this property is 2 stories. So I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, you can get somewhere else. Any other questions? We have about maybe 5 more minutes here. I want to be able to answer your questions before I go. So of course, inside of the ALF course, you're gaining a lot of value from it. People pay me $10K plus to help them open their ALFs. And I put a lot of this knowledge in here, so you get to save all of that. And then if you get your tickets through the links that we just shared, you'll end up getting my whole education system, plus you'll save the ticket fee for the conference. So you're basically going to get the conference for free, but it's 2 different type of purchase. It's purchasing the conference and purchasing the link. But we did a discount to where whatever you paid for the conference, which you got a discount code that is not available anywhere else for this particular webinar, you'll have access to that. But yeah, those are all the services that we provide, and we have systems, we have structure. We not only help you get your license and then we say go and figure it out. We hold your hands through the Thriving Circle community. Of course, you'll have access to us. You actually end up becoming part of the family structure once we help you get your ALF license. If we don't have any other questions.
I do have one more question. When you're hiring staff, have you run into challenges hiring staff? When you described your resident putting defecation all over the walls, I just know that that takes quite a special type of person to deal with. So what are some of the strategies you've used in hiring people?
I look at heart over experience. I learned, because I came from the sheriff's office and leadership. I was a sergeant there, a supervisor. I was new to the ALF world, but I was not new to leadership. So what I learned was I hired people that display a good heart, or I sense energies. And so I don't want to woo-woo you out, but I can sense, probably because I've dealt with so many different situations, but I can sense energy And if I sense someone was a good person, I would pick them even though they don't have that much experience over someone who's been in the industry for way longer. And I think that helps me tremendously, because you would think that I would choose someone who have a lot of experience, considering I didn't have a lot of experience. But I was confident in my abilities to help people. I've always been in positions where I'm helping people. I cared for my seniors. I was coming from a good place. And if I just follow the rules and do what needs to be done, and it's easy to follow the rules because everything is in black and white. And that's one of the reasons why I love the industry and why I'm able to do so well in it, because I like to follow structure. I like structure. I like rules. I like procedures. I like steps. I like systems. So I would hire people who display a good heart over experience. And it paid off for me, because you have people that may have been in the business for so long doing things the wrong way, but they don't know that they're doing things the wrong way because that's how they've always done it. So those people I hired, they look at the seniors like their own mom, their own dad, and we all love up on them. They know that I love my seniors. Don't mess with my seniors. But hire heart over experience, if that makes sense. And when you realize you did not hire the right person, fire them right away. That has actually happened to me as well, where I thought I hired the right person and I in fact did not. And they will show you, if you just watch them, they will show you that they're not the right people. Get rid of them. It will be too expensive to keep them. Okay. We do have also an Amazon storefront for people for assisted living. Don't use. What do you mean by that? Who just put that on the chat? What do you mean by that? Tell me more so that I can help you.
We just don't use the word facility.
I understand.
We don't use the word nursing. We don't use, nursing home. It's, long-term care by category, but I just had a conversation with someone who's 91 years old, very fit. And, what people are attracted to with the margin in this type of environment is the margin is based on the fact that people die within 3 years and they're commodified, and it's called turnover. And if you want an environment where people thrive, you're not going to get that margin. You might get double digits, such as 10+%, which you can never promise or guarantee. But if you want people to live long and be happy, it attracts and I didn't realize this until recently. It just attracts a certain type of investor, and you have to figure out, and I know I'm saying this because you are that kind of person that cares about grandma, how long they live, and not that they're going to turn over so you can make a bigger percentage.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. We definitely use the term community, but when we're talking about like the licensing structure of it, that's when you have to use the right terminologies dealing with those different entities, because like I get what you're saying, and we do treat them the right way. And in fact, if I sense someone is not going to do the right thing, I don't associate my name with that. So you're absolutely correct with using the term community. But when it comes to licensing, you have to use the actual term that is written in the rules. Otherwise, you find yourself in people are saying, I don't know what a community is, or ALF community. I don't know what that is, from the zoning department. So once you actually open your structure, you can use the language that you see fit. But definitely, regardless of the language you use, it is the way that you treat your seniors, the way that you treat them even when no one is looking, that's going to help you to sustain your business. If you don't do the right thing, you're not going to succeed in this business. People will bring their mom and dad to you, and if you don't treat them right, they're going to move them right out. So thank you for sharing that. If we don't have any other questions, I'm going to hop off. I've got to go pick my daughter from school, 2 o'clock. And if I'm late, I'll be really mad. But did you find this meeting helpful?
You're great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And now I'm definitely gonna go to the conference.
I'm looking
And I'm
forward
gonna get somebody to show me where the chat is in doggone Google Meet.
Okay, I understand. And we'll do an email follow-up with the links. And if you are coming, try to get your ticket today by the 24th hour. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. I'm looking forward to serving you guys. I think all of my links. Right. I understand. Yes, it can be clean so I just want to add a couple more things before I go. So the way you treat people, even if you use the wrong term, establish your success. Okay. So don't drive yourself crazy with the term, because when a resident family come to you, they are already nervous. And so they are watching your body language, the way that you act, the way that your staff are acting, the way that your other community members are acting, to establish whether or not they're leaving mom with you. Regardless if you use resident or assisted living facility, they are paying attention to who you are as a person. Okay. And ultimately, people bring success in this business, because this business is a very personal business. And even the way I serve very personally, because you're caring for people. And a lot of the people in this business, they're in it because they care for people. And if you don't do the right thing, you don't succeed. So I hope that helps to settle things up a little. But if we don't have any other questions, I'm gonna go. I will see you guys later. I am looking forward to seeing you in the next meetings, seeing you inside of the community. You'll have access to the Thriving Circle community. I didn't get a chance to answer all of these questions, but we practically went over them because you were able to. Yeah, that is true. We were able to answer your questions live. And until next time, I will see you guys later, okay?